Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The family of the latest murder victim is speaking out.
Charges are dropped against several co-defendants who were charged along with a former urban renewal chief.
We have public's reaction to those new traffic laws.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, 4 of the co-defendants of former Urban Renewal Deputy Director Michelle Reckley were discharged today after Magistrate Ambrose and Brister determined that he had no jurisdiction to hear their matters. However, his ruling did not stop proceedings against Reckley and 2 of her remaining co-defendants who will go to trial this fall. Jasmine Brown was in court for the dramatic turn of events.
Today's proceedings came to an emotional end as the magistrate dropped the charges against 4 of those charged along with Reckley, prompting them to leave the court in tears.
Tell them that freedom! Freedom! Free! Free! Free man! Free!
That was the emotional response from Kylon Vincent, Stephanie Colley, and Christopher Simonet as they exited the magistrate's court this afternoon, moments after Magistrate Ambrose and Brister threw out all of the money laundering charges, noting the 6-month statute of limitations had expired. James Wildgoose, whose name was on the docket but was never arraigned in court, also had his money laundering case dismissed. He was not in court today. But Vincent, Colley, and Simonet, who were arraigned along with Reckley on February 13th, exited the court in tears, telling media they felt vindicated.
The only bad thing about this is now they've damaged my professional reputation and tried to my character, but it is what it is. The court has spoken, and that's all I have to say.
Are you surprised by what happened this morning, or you feel like it was going to
not at all. Not at all surprised.
Is this an emotional time for you right now?
No, why? I might be angry, but I'm not. It's nothing to be happy about. Being before the court said nothing to boast about.
Reckley and her co-defendants were charged on February 13th with defrauding the government of over $1.2 million for the government's small homes repair program on Grand Bahama. In court, Magistrate and Brister informed the prosecution that there were 2 issues that he saw with the money laundering charges. The first, he says, was the fact that they were charged under a law that did not exist, as the Proceeds of Crime Act was repealed in May 2018. The other was the 6-month statute of limitation issue. Prosecutors allege that the crimes took place between December 5, 2016 and April 25, 2017. Brister told the court that he would not preside over charges he believed he had no jurisdiction over, as it would be an abuse of the court process. Brister's ruling reduced the charges from 41 to 19. Prosecutor Yukul Bonaby told the court that the prosecution team was surprised by Brister's ruling and disagreed that the statute of limitation had expired. Defense attorney Damian Gomez QC also reacted outside court.
It's clear from what happened this morning that no attention was given to almost half of the charges that were laid against the people who were before the court.
Or more than half.
More than half of them. And it's really a very bad reflection on the prosecuting authorities that something as obvious as this was not discerned.
Given today's outcome, Reckley also expressed confidence in her case.
All is in control, yes.
Meantime, the fraud by false pretenses charges remain against Reckley, Lyburn, and Hall. The trio are expected back in court for trial on October 21st. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of a man in the Baintown community. Jared Higgs visited the community where he spoke to the victim's family.
According to police, it was shortly after 1 a.m. on Friday morning when a man was killed outside of number 135 Augusta Street. Now, when Our News visited the scene later on in the morning, it turns out that the man actually lived just a few doors down the road. Our News understands the victim is 37-year-old Alexander Bullard, a father of 2 kids. According to police reports, officers were alerted to gunshots in the Baintown area around 1 a.m. When they responded, they discovered Bullard's body lying on the ground on Augusta Street.
It hurts. I don't know, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I haven't slept yet.
Bullard's mother, 56-year-old Garnell Johnson, described her oldest son as a quiet individual who was loved by those who knew him. Having recently celebrated her birthday, Johnson was heartbroken.
The worst one I could ever have.
Johnson says Bullard, who turned 37 earlier this month, didn't have an easy life. He lost a child to cancer a few years ago, and his father and grandmother also passed away recently. Despite that, she says he found solace in his favorite sport.
If it's a ball to bounce, a basketball, he can be there for that. Tournaments, he can be there for that. He loved basketball. And the children, oh, he loved the children too.
Playing and teaching basketball were Bullard's passions, according to his loved ones. As we interviewed his mother, his brother emerged from the family home with his prized trophies.
You die for this. What? You die for this. This. Coaching literature. Teaching them. Get the ropes. No? Everything you need. No? Everything you need with ball.
His brother eventually broke down.
I thought he would die on the basketball court.
And while Johnson and her family grieved, she recalled their final conversation, a familiar one for mothers and sons.
So I told him, I said, cut your hair and cut all this hair off your face. So he said to me, he said, you give me the money. I said, no, let me carry you to the barber, because if I give you the money, you ain't gonna do it. And then I looked, when he get up, I said, come here. He said, no, I ain't coming back because I know what you want. I said, give me that back pocket, what you have in the back there. He said, no, I ain't coming to give you my pocket. And he walked off.
According to Our News records, Bullard's killing brings the 2019 murder count to 19. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Well, 3 days after a teen boy was stabbed and killed on his way home from school, the Bahamas Union of Teachers is calling on more police officers to be placed in school zones.
I believe that we are too reactive. Whenever something happens, then everyone gets in a tizzy.
While the Commissioner of Police may not think placing more police officers in school zones is a fix to the problem, BUT President Belinda Wilson says there's no question a greater police presence in those areas is needed.
The reality is guns have been found on school campuses, alcohol, knives, drugs, as in marijuana, cocaine, over many years. So yes, the police being around the school, the police making contact or visits to the schools on a frequent basis, all that can do is solidify safety not only for the teachers but also for our students.
15-year-old Perry Roll Jr. was stabbed in the chest by a student from a nearby school Tuesday afternoon, not long after school ended. His mother said he was bullied numerous times and found himself carrying weapons to protect himself. And while the incident happened off school property, the BUT president said that doesn't mean police can't be in the general area.
And I think, too, they also need to start tying in more of the parents into what it is that they're doing, because obviously there is a breakdown in some of the homes. So the parents need to know the importance of safety for their children.
National Security Minister Marvin Dame said yesterday that government is in discussions with stakeholders to see how best to increase security in and around school campuses. Now, as for safety concerns teachers may have,
I don't believe that teachers, for the most part, are fearful on a daily basis. But we are cognizant of the fact that our lives can be at risk based on violence in the school.
the public is weighing in on the new amendments to the Road Traffic Act. While some believe the ban on cell phone use while driving is a step in the right direction, others question how realistic that move is. Nonetheless, motorists were unanimous in their view that the $1,000 fine for violation of the act is too hefty. Jillian Gray reports.
Driving while using a cell phone or with an open alcoholic beverage could land drivers with a hefty fine, thanks to a new amendment to the Road Traffic Act. Now, while those in Parliament praised the move, not everyone was overjoyed, as this motorist argued that for business persons and many others, using a cell phone while in the car may be needed.
With alcoholic beverage, I think it's a good idea, but with phones-wise, especially doing voice notes, as people doing businesses and stuff, so you know they need the access, but some people don't pay attention. It could be a distraction, but it's a win-lose situation for me.
According to the National Security Minister, there have been 1,831 traffic accidents so far this year. The bill does allow for the use of an electronic device only if it is attached to the vehicle and enabled for hands-free use. Though the amendments come as a shock for some, we spoke to several motorists who said while it will be difficult to comply, they do see the logic behind this move.
Yes, I do agree with that because you're not being cautious on the road to see, especially if a child is passing. People lose lives like that.
For the betterment of the people and for the safety of us, making sense.
That's great. That's more safety for their lives. It doesn't affect me because I don't even be on the phone, so that's normal for me.
Now, if you're found using your cell phone while driving, or if you're in any contravention of this bill, you can be charged up to $1,000. It's a fine that some motorists say is a bit too steep.
It's way too much. Way too much.
What do you think it should come down to?
Like the regular $250, $300, the most. Yeah.
It's too much, but at least we learn from it. It'll teach us to obey the law.
Enforce the laws stronger. They take it for a game, so that's good.
While the bill has been passed in the House of Assembly, the government is expected to make several amendments, including reducing the fines. The amendments also made way for motorists to make a cautious left turn on a red light. Well, according to this driver, that may cause a problem for some motorists.
They have to make practices of it first before just implementing it, because something like that could be catastrophic.
The amendments will have to be passed in the upper chamber, then published in a gazette before they are officially enacted and become law. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Still to come, could Bahamian workers soon see an increase in the minimum wage? Plus, a former Chamber of Commerce CEO applauds government on the Grand Lucayan LOI. Stay tuned.